Good afternoon, our dear listeners. Welcome once again to your favorite disability advocacy program, Caring Heart, on Armed Forces Radio, 107.7 FM, broadcasting live from Mogadishu Cantonment, Abuja. I am your host, Comrade Chris Sabo, and always I am glad to be with you this afternoon, sharing voices, vision, and vibrant strength of disability community. Today, we'll be discussing a very timely and important topic, beyond dashboard, driving full accessibility compliance in Nigeria. Last week, the Inclusive Friends Association, IFA, made a groundbreaking move by launching the Accessibility Compliance Dashboard. The tool is designed to profile and rank organizations based on how well they comply with the national accessibility regulations and Disability and Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act of 2018. It's actually a very huge step, but the big question is, what more can we do beyond this dashboard to ensure that Nigeria becomes truly accessible for persons with disabilities? So today we will just be breaking it down. We're looking at it segment by segment, and look at the dashboard as well, and look at other things that we need to do in order to achieve accessibility compliance in Nigeria. First, we want to look at the power of this accessibility dashboard. Looking at this accessibility dashboard is more than just a ranking system. It's also a monitoring tool. It's also a feedback mechanism and a wake-up call to public and private institutions to ensure that their buildings are made accessible for persons with disabilities. It shows that organizations, that stands, in terms of accessibility, that also offers a roadmap for what needs to change. So let me actually begin by looking at this dashboard, what the dashboard is intended to achieve. First of all, the dashboard is actually there to help to strengthen the enforcement of disability law and also the accessibility regulations. But looking at the Disability Act of 2018, it actually mandates that for full accessibility in public space, then yet many institutions continue to ignore it. And we actually need to have a stronger enforcement by relevant government bodies, and again have legal consequences for non-compliance, and also have a periodical accessibility audit nationwide. So these are some of the things that this dashboard will have to offer, or looking at beyond the dashboard. Then looking at beyond the dashboard, we also need to have to build the capacity of most of these organizations. Some of these organizations is because they lack the knowledge on how to become make their buildings more accessible, or their facilities more accessible, or their operations more accessible. So that's one of the reasons why you continue to see what we are seeing. So we actually need to have accessibility training for engineers, business owners. That's most of the owners of some of these buildings. Then again, government workers, they need to also have this knowledge. So then we need to also have a lot of disability inclusion workshops and practical guidelines, showing them what it means in order for them to know what is expected of them, or what they need to do in order to achieve this compliance that we are talking about. Then again, we'll also be looking at the stronger political will by government. Those in government ministries, they must have to make sure that their buildings are accessible. Those in government, they need to prioritize accessibility. It's also very important. And by prioritizing accessibility, they need to also make budgets, budget provisions that will address some of these accessibility challenges in most of their buildings. And when we talk accessibility, it's not just only building, it's also by job opportunities and self programs that they also have within their organization. Most of these programs need to be more accessible. we're making it accessible also required providing, like for example, where you have an event, providing sign language interpretation in some of those events is part of it. Then again, other things that can actually make it accessible. Information need to be on braille so that the blind persons can also have access to some of the information within the office. Some of the office equipment like the laptops need to also have softwares in most of them that will make it easier for blind persons who are workers within those offices to be able to make have access to some of the work equipment for them to actually perform their duty. Then even those who come to access information in some of these offices, it has to be in a format that will make it easier for them to actually access some of this information. And they need to get this knowledge. But by the time they get the knowledge, they need to also have budget provisions that can actually help them to acquire some of these equipment that can actually make it easy for persons with disabilities to access their services or access their building. Then we need to also have inclusion of persons with disabilities in the monitoring team. For example, the national will also get to know that some of these things are some of the things that are actually expected of them, because you may have your place of business or Commission for Persons with Disabilities is expected to actually have a task force, and that task force, one of their duties is to go to some of these agencies, private organizations, and several other organizations to ensure or to make sure that they get them to actually comply to disability law. So in that particular monitoring team, or they need to, persons with disabilities also need to be part of it, or whatever government is doing to make sure that there's compliance. So they need to be part of it in order for them to be able to audit some of these accessibility facilities, because you don't just provide those facilities when those who are the users of the facilities are not there to actually certify that yes, this facility is actually good for us, and we're able to make use of them. So they have to be there to actually confirm some of these things. So, and they also have to be part of the evaluation, and they need to also be able to actually say, okay, based on our previous experiences, what has been put on ground is there to actually take care of it. Then we need to also do a whole lot of public awareness. Need to have media engagements. So many Nigerians still don't have knowledge of some of these things, and that is one of the reasons why we even have Caring Act, in order for us to have a platform that we can use to educate people more, and people in your office, and those of your office is not really accessible. And the law actually said that any public building, it did not actually select some places. It said any public building, once whatever you're doing is there to actually interact with the general public, you must have to make sure that it's made accessible for persons with disabilities. Those facilities that need to put in place, the ramps, the elevators where the elevator is required, and several other facilities that you need to put in place, is the law has mandated you that you must have to put those things in place. So there's need for you to have the knowledge of some of the things that is expected of you, or you're looking at your building, what is needed to actually make your building accessible. So that knowledge is very important. So there should be more media campaigns, and again, it has to also be part of what we study in school, because that is exactly where the whole problem started. Because, for example, when people are still in school, maybe at university level, and they actually have a disability study, and we're able to have some of the knowledge of, even if it's during their general study, during their first year, they were able to actually get this knowledge about disability. It will actually help them to have a better understanding of persons with disabilities and what is expected for us to have a more inclusive society for persons with disabilities. That's very, very important. So if it's something that government will also have to look into and introduce, that will go a long way. I think I have a little idea of what has actually happened on that area. I think few years back, not like 2 years ago, the National Commission for